nation is under siege. The nation is under siege.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special, a Do I Do We Stand special. Obviously, you all know the event that occurred today. I'll be with you in 1 second here. I want to go right to my co-host, good friend, journalist, educator, all-around good guy. That's our Dave Price. Dave, didn't expect
Hey,
a woman,
Brian.
did we?
No, we didn't. I think the way you speak of today, and first of all, let me say it's way too early to speak definitively of today. But with what we know at this point, just when you say it can't get more bizarre, this 2024 election, which many of us feel is between democracy and dictatorship, suddenly has a new wrinkle that certainly will affect this election. In terms of in terms of timing, in terms of what we find out, in terms of what people believe, in terms of what people will say, all of that's going on now. So if anybody's tuning in to expect any definitive answers, that won't be the case. But what we can do is put a little, either a stop or deflation on some of the stories that are already out on social media. And that's about the best we can hope to do. Brian, why don't you say what you know to be true at this point with minimalistic, no, in other words, when I say true, no speculation, what do you know that you believe is true at this point?
I can only tell you what I saw and what I heard. I heard
Right.
multiple shots,
Okay.
number one. I saw what appeared to be blood coming from his ears, or his right ear. I did see him flinch. I did see the crowd in panic. I did see the Secret Service do what they had to do. It certainly didn't seem much different than when I saw Ronald Reagan shot, except that, of course, Trump had a lot of theatrics. He obviously had his adrenaline going after he was shot, and he was protected. The crowd was stunned, but I think a lot of them were afraid that they themselves would have been shot, because you could see this. People were going down. Trump himself went down, and they said he went down in his own volition. That's all I know as far as what I saw and what I heard.
Right.
So
I think that is pretty much all we do know at this point. Now the rest will be all up to what we hear, what reporters say, what others say. But here's the first thing I would do in this situation. Just wait. Just wait. We want all the answers. We want all the answers right now. You want to tell Ken why we're on?
I think he might be sarcastic, but we'll tell him anyway. But Joey says that our volume's low, and I don't see that on my controls.
Okay, well, boost it up a little bit maybe, or whatever for Joe.
I mean, I can do, Joey, if you can. Is Dave low, or am I low? You'll have to tell me.
No, you're Brian. You're not Milo. Your name is Brian, not Milo.
I'll have to wait about 20 seconds because there's a lag here.
Right. So, what we have is one of the two presidential candidates, apparently, and I say apparently, it's like allegedly. No, I think
it's fine.
I suppose we can throw the apparently out. One of the two major party candidates for president of the United States being shot. That's what I think we heard. That's what I think we saw. Now, after that, Wow. Um, yes, I would think Antigaya. I don't, and I'll tell you why I don't feel any sympathy for Donald Trump in this matter. If there is a pro-gun candidate in this race, it is Donald Trump. If there is a person who's called for violence in this race, it is Donald Trump. I don't particularly believe in karma. I don't particularly believe in retribution. But no, I feel no sympathy. No, I can honestly say no empathy because Trump holds no empathy for anyone.
Right.
Why I feel sad and sorry tonight is what it is going to do to America. And that's what the show is really going to be about. And I think those of us who try to keep a relative handle on grasping the truth, our job is going to be cut out for us for the next few days.
Revenge
All right,
hounds, too. We have to watch out for them.
all of this. Now, what I did before we came on air, Brian, I had a few minutes, and so I just ran, a quick kind of check on my left wing friends and associates and websites and the right wing. So I'm going to let you choose which side you want to explore first, and I have some of what they're saying right now. Now, first of all, do we have a time? I don't. I know you called me and I was at dinner, and I jumped right on it. But I don't know what time it was. What time? Do you remember what time you learned
I
this?
know what time that I called you because it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 6:36. Because I
Could
actually
be.
did look at that. Believe it or not, I know it sounds
Yeah.
strange, but
No.
I did look at that. Let me go
And
recent.
about
I called you. Oh, Christ.
no, you didn't call me Christ, but okay.
No, I mean, it should have been
That's
listed.
that sounds about
I can't tell really. I can't.
okay, but
tell.
that sounds about right. And about how long had it been? You had been watching it or listening to it or
Well,
whatever before
I
you
know.
called me, roughly.
Actually, it might have been. It was before 6:30. I called you after I came upstairs. What happened was, I was upstairs. Ronnie had left the television on. She asked me to turn it off because I was in there listening to my Russian
Right.
shit. So I go into the room, and all of a sudden I see this, scrolling banner across the bottom saying, whatever you call it, the Chiron, saying that Trump is injured. And then they showed a quick replay, and you could see that he flinched with the ear. I said, he's shot. And that's when I yelled down to Ron. I said, Trump is shot here.
Mhm.
Then I must have called you about a minute or two later after that.
So we're looking at something around the incident probably happening around 6:30. Is that safe?
I want to say it's before that.
I mean, but not 6 o'clock, right? I mean,
Well, can somebody out there dig that up while we're
yeah.
talking about
The
this,
reason
folks?
the reason I'm asking is, let's say at best we're examining a situation that happened 3 hours ago,
Why
give
my
or take.
message to you
All right.
didn't come
So
through.
so I mean, it's not something we have to have. I was
No,
just
I
trying
know. I
to put
just
in.
find it interesting. I saw it earlier.
Yeah, we
But
just
it's not there.
okay. Well, we've had a lot of that. We'll go into that on tomorrow
Really
night's
weird.
show. It is weird, but anyway. So right now, it's safe to say that no one in America knows exactly what happened. Would you agree with that statement, Brian?
Right, and just knowing the way people are, though, we've
And
got a problem.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's why we're doing this. To try to put some perspective on it. Now, I saw on Reddit how tons of people are just saying chess actors and Trumpers are responding with how much proof do you need this happens, laughing out loud. Yeah, Ryan. Well, Ryan used to be on our show. So, Ryan, I'm going to ask you a question real quickly. Do you want me to start and Brian to discuss what I'm seeing and hearing on the left or the right? So just type the word left or right in, Brian, and you'll be, if the crowd doesn't like us, then we'll blame you. No, seriously, just pick one.
Right.
While
We'll get an
while doing
answer in about 20 seconds because again, there's
yeah,
a
I
bit of
realize that.
delay.
So yeah, either left or right. So it was interesting, and I'll do not my reaction to it, but the reaction of where I live. So we were out to dinner, and I wouldn't have known anything about it because even though the TVs are on where we were, there's two TVs at a bar. We were sitting away from them at a Thai restaurant, our favorite Thai restaurant in the neighborhood. And so had you not called, I wouldn't have known anything about it. All right.
Because
So
you
that,
start
they,
eating, you're just thinking about food and getting right.
well, yeah. And we were going to take a walk after. And then you called. And then, of course, I'm on my phone checking it immediately. And Judy looks up and says, "Oh, it's on TV." I said, "Okay." So the only person, again, this is America. This is the way it works. Nothing bad, nothing good. Life goes on. There were two other couples in the place at that point. They're just eating. One of the servers came up to the bar and was watching. But again, the idea is that things happen and we don't even know about them, and then they happen and we know about them, and all of a sudden we're commenting on them, which I don't quite get why we do that. Ryan, I'm going to say that you want to go with the left, so we get started on this.
Why not?
So,
Let's go with the left first.
all right. So what the first thing that you're seeing all over? We're going to do both, Ryan. We're going to do both, left and right. So let's start with the left. The first thing that you see as you scroll these is the shortest way to put it is staged ? So there are people already in America that they're deciding this is staged. Now, what makes them think that? All right. I think one of the things is we know that Trump's a liar. Okay, that we know. Now, it's pretty hard to lie about something you see out there in the open, but there are going to be questions like that, come up from their stage because why didn't he die? Now, that's a kind of a horrible thing to say, but wait a minute, the shooter was that bad? Now, move on. So you got the stage thing, and no matter what comes up, there'll probably always be
Well, they said
people.
he was probably outshot from outside of the perimeter, the security perimeter.
Well, yeah, they're gonna now again. There are people.
But I don't know.
dismissing
That's what I just.
No,
That was
well,
reported.
okay, that raises another big question. Okay, if he was shot outside of the perimeter, a handgun is not going to reach that far.
Right, and
It's
that's
not.
what they were speculating on that.
And
probably had to
we're
be
hearing
high-powered rifle
now
of some
the
sort.
reason that I think it was a handgun used was because any kind of sniper rifle that actually landed a bullet, which would have had to do to bring the blood out, would have done more damage.
Well, it
Would
did
have
kill
definitely-
somebody.
Well,
It did
definitely
kill
done
some-
more damage. I mean, it definitely
right,
would have
but
done more.
but if it grazed him, again, I don't know the ballistics and all that kind of thing.
Now, yes, it could. Judy said when we were talking about this, he probably, the shooter probably had him in his sights and moved. Okay, so, but anyway, that's always going to be a question until we get the caliber weapon, right? I mean, that's what's used. Now, was he inside the perimeter or outside the perimeter? We don't know that yet. Now, here's another comment, kind of caustic, but some people might think it's funny, and some people might even think it's appropriate. Some people are saying they're responding now to the shooter himself or herself, and they're saying you had one job, only one job. Of course, which is the saying you say when somebody blows, like if you see it a lot of times on the internet, like if somebody's painting, road on the road and they waver, you know what I mean, and they don't get it straight, and they'll say something. Well, you had one job. So obviously that. Another comment making the rounds on the left. Well, we know it wasn't SEAL Team 6 because they wouldn't have missed. Now
By
again,
the way, I withheld that comment. I always try to post everything that everybody posts, but that one was put in by Facebook, and I decided not to push it forward.
And I think that was a good thing because at this point, and I don't believe in censorship, and I don't think that's appropriate given what we know and what we don't know.
Especially if we find out he's a member of Divided We Stand, then you don't want to, just definitely don't want that.
Well, the other thing is, but that's not the only place I saw it. I saw it on other things too. So it's something making the rounds. Anti-Guy, we'll talk about that before we close this show out also. Now.
By the way, that's what Bill Waterman had mentioned to me. He figured his numbers were going to go up. He sent me a text. His numbers are going to go up.
Well.
And by the way, for those who don't know Bill Waterman's a very active member of Divided We Stand.
Yeah.
Guy.
And the other one that is hopeful, but very naive and will not happen. I'm going to go on record as saying this definitely will not happen. So anything tonight on the left side that I'm going to rule out. And they're saying maybe gun control, maybe now gun control. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
They'll load up tomorrow.
Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. You're jumping ahead here, Brian. So let's move to some of the highlights or lowlights, whichever way you look at it, of what they're saying on the right. Already within, we said 3 hours, but this was in the early, within an hour. Why hasn't Biden commented? What's wrong with him? He's the
He
president of the
has
United States.
commented.
I'm telling you what they put. It doesn't matter
Right.
because this is what they're saying. And there are people who believe that he never commented. Okay. And that's there. Then here's one you knew it was coming, and this is much more than that one. Did Biden or his puppeteers order the hit? Did Brian? Yeah. Did Biden and his puppeteers order the hit? I feel relatively safe in saying no, but again, you can't. We don't know. The only answer is we don't know, and that's not a negative. That's not a positive. It's we don't know. But I don't think that would be there. And then somebody jumped on, and I blame Joe Biden for this or his advisors. So he said, "Oh no, he won't comment or do anything. It's past his bedtime." They, them, their, who, and that's what you got, Ichabod. Who are they, them, then who? The people that I'm talking about are comments from people that I know or websites that I know or left or right. It doesn't matter who.
On To Body We Stand, we're not naming names at all right now.
And no, and also I don't think it's important. We're just talking about the comments in general. Now. And then this one I've seen immediately, and this is the speed that we actually, a number, and I don't know if it's millions or the dozens that I ran across, have taken a close-up of Trump's bloody face and have made that their profile.
Oh, really? Already?
Already, on the right, yes, already. And
so they're going to make him a martyr.
And then the most scary comment, which I only saw once in a variation, so it doesn't mean that I don't say 1,000. But it was basically, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but okay, you brought guns into it. We're ready. We're getting ammo. We're armed. We're coming.
Revenge heads.
Mm-hmm. And a person whom I do know well, who has throughout this election maintained that neither candidate is good, and neither the two-party system is bad for America. And I happen to agree with him. Not that neither candidate is good. I'm saying I'm not a big fan of the two-party system.
Well,
I would
it
like to
creates a
see
certain
more.
intensity because you
Right,
have a
and that's-
dividing line.
And that's exactly it. But this person said, but now I've made up. I was going with RFK as a protest vote, but now you don't shoot my president. I'm back in my party. This person was a Republican. Yes, and that's
Right. Good point, Marty.
No,
Good point.
that and who made some of those? Donald Trump himself.
Right.
He retweeted those. So again, when I say no, I don't feel any remorse for Donald Trump. What I do feel remorse for is the American public, because once again, we'll be cloaked in uncertainty, distrust, lying. I mean, now it gets a little bit worse in this sense. It appears at this point that 2 people did die in this
Well,
shooting incident.
One died and one was injured, so we don't know what happened with that second one yet. You may be right.
Now-
I don't know.
Well, again, you're hearing. See, you're going to hear all kinds of different reports. Not lying, just everybody's the papers and news organizations are in a rush. True, Jeff. That's a good point.
Which
Now
is, I
think
think-
about this. Today is July 13th. He was supposed to be sentenced July 11th. I'm sure there'll be a thing that the shooter was part of a group that felt that justice wasn't, being done by
Right.
him not being sentenced, and that's why we did
I'm
it.
sure that those 6 Supreme Court members were thinking, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's just kind of a brief look at the left and right within 3 hours. Now you can imagine as it plays out over the next 24, 48 hours, that will only intensify. Grounds will only get worse. And we don't need to go back.
Joey, I'm sorry, Joey. I know you're saying that the microphone volume is too low, but if I keep turning this up, everybody else says it's fine, and I think all of you need to chime in. Is my volume way too low? Because right now I cranked it up a bit, and I don't really want to go too
Yeah.
high on this. Joey, there might be something on your end. I don't know.
Just tell Joey to, I'm not saying he's certainly not stupid, but
Restart
just
your
tell
computer.
tell him to restart his computer or jack up the volume on his end. We're fucked either way in many ways.
Keith is here
Anti-Gaia,
from New Zealand.
that is, hey, Keith, that is true. Okay. Now, let's look at, I'm going to use my experience as a reporter to bring myself into this a little bit, if I may. Now, of course, I've never been around a presidential shooting, but I have been in two situations where there was shooting and people were killed as a reporter twice. First of all, one of the differences was I knew something was up when I came on the scene, but I never expected the moment I arrived, shots just started flying everywhere. And I ducked down so quick and hugged that tire so hard that, but my point is, you don't know what's going on. Nobody at that moment. It's just sheer, I mean, technically, theoretically, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, you're not prepared for a shooting when you go out.
Absolutely.
We say we are, but we say we are, but we're not. We're not. I mean, no one is. And maybe that's not a good thing in this America. I don't know.
Well, it's a lot different when it's a lot different than a fight. When you have a projectile, that is that big, and you can't even see it coming. You can only
Right.
Yes.
So,
It's frightening.
so again, this idea of, well, they should know, they should know, they should not. Another thing is getting back, and not in a smart way, but you had one job. Well, the Secret Service has one job, to protect the president of the United
They
States
did.
if they're on detail.
For the
And
most part.
heaven help them if that president gets killed. They won't probably lose their job, but they'll be doing it in Skagway, Alaska, or Roswell, New Mexico. Probably by tomorrow morning, Jeff.
We
Probably.
got a lot of comments rolling in. I appreciate it, folks. We appreciate it very much. Just keep them rolling in. They're good.
Yeah.
This is our,
And-
meaning us.
This is what we want to do. That's
Right.
it's just because we don't have the. We're trying to kind of try to figure out what's going on. So that's my experience as a reporter, and I want to tell you one more thing that happened. That wasn't. It happened in the high school where you teach, Brian, and so I'm going to set this up. Twice during the 70s, Bridgeton, the city of Bridgeton and high school, were victims of severe race riots. Nobody was killed, but people were badly injured. School was shut. I mean, it was a horrible time. The first time I was in college, the second time I was there to cover it. So there were 3 reporters in the newsroom in this small hometown paper, and they sent us up to the high school to cover what was supposed to be a riot. And if you're not familiar with Bridgeton High School, and I'm sure not too many of our readers are, it has what would you call it? Like an open horseshoe driveway that leads
Right.
out to the main road. And back then there were so many buses that buses were blocking that whole thing. So I was assigned to be on the high school side, right? So the buses were in front of me. And I got my stuff. I rushed back to the office with a story ready to file it. Another reporter was on the grass between the buses and the road with buses blocking his view both ways. So all he saw is what transpired on the grass. He comes back to report that story. And the third was on the other side, Brian, used to be, it's not much anymore. Kids used to congregate over there near the end of school, starting from the last period. And so he comes back. And you know what, Brian? We all had 3 completely different stories, given the perspective of where we are. So fortunately, we were able to pause for a few minutes and work out what was kind of true and what wasn't. And that's what reporters are doing now. And they were shocked. Hey, Gary. So I've been very critical of the press and will continue to be. I think they're just not doing their job. But this is a different story. Okay, this is a different story. Now, let's look at the questions that I have right now, and then Brian, you give yours, and please anybody else. We don't. Again, I'm saying I do not know what happened. I do not, except what you said at the beginning of the show. There was a shooting. It was in Butler, I believe it's Butler, Pennsylvania.
Near
It's
Pittsburgh.
30. It's 30 minutes from Pittsburgh, which puts it in Trump territory. It's not like the week he was in Detroit. Okay, he's in Trump territory, supposedly friendly grounds. It appears that he was indeed grazed, or somehow it caused blood to come down. He did drop of his own volition. It did not appear behind the podium, which is exactly what candidates are told to do, is to seek the closest shelter and just keep your ass down.
This
So
comment
we-
here, Dave, this is one thing that does worry me, and it did worry me when I saw it, was that as soon as this happened, assuming that it was an assassination attempt, most Trumpers, and at least I'm worried that they're going to think that Biden ordered a hit. That kind
Oh,
of
we know they're not, Brian. You don't have to be worried about it. They're already doing it. I read their comments, and that's just in the first, before they've even had time to reflect on it. Look, the Supreme Court is an illegitimate court. We know that. Okay, that's why I'd feel no sympathy if we were talking about Clarence Thomas or Alito or any of the other conservatives. I think that Trump and his Trumppublicans and MAGA and the Supreme Court and the Republicans in the Senate and the Republicans in the House, they brought all this on. They brought it all on. And Ichabod, I agree. I mean, I can't swear to it, but I would be totally shocked, not, if Biden had anything to do with this. I mean,
absolutely not. He's not the type to do that.
no,
shit.
and he's not. If anything, he's wussy.
And
about
somebody would
this
have
stuff.
to be complicit with it too. And it's
No.
not what Democrats do. I'm not
Yeah,
saying the person
we-
who did it wasn't a liberal. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's not what we do.
All right, so here's the questions I have. Number one, who was the shooter? We don't know that,
We don't know
correct?
yet.
Now, there's a problem with that. We'll never know. Do you know why?
Well, the only thing it seems like you're leading to that they won't announce it. I don't know.
They will announce it, but they didn't get it from him, if indeed he was dead.
Right, but he has probably
There'll
had a
be-
phone.
There'll be no direct testimony. Yes, I did it. No, I didn't.
Okay, I got you. Right.
This is, if that happened, very much in line with Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald.
Right.
The difference may be that it was a Secret Service agent. Now, if it was a Secret Service agent or agents, they were doing their job.
Right.
They're not. Their job is to protect the president. And the way you protect the president, if someone shoots at the president and you can take them out, you take them out. But unfortunately, if that is what happens, and it appears that's what did happen, then no matter what the government says, there'll be X millions of people who won't believe it.
Right.
They would want a trial and a confession, and even then they wouldn't believe it, maybe.
Well, that's what we
Yeah.
all have been asking. Ronnie brought that up.
Oh, well, we know what he would have said.
Right.
Said, I wish the guy had better eyesight or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What he said. So that's the first thing, the shooter, but then maybe that isn't going to be. Now, let's speculate, since this is a speculation night, not saying any of this is true. What would be some logical possibilities for the shooter? Okay, someone who hates Donald Trump, right?
You'd have
Someone-
to have a motive for doing it.
Someone who you brought up or was brought up on the show, someone who feels that justice is going to be denied because Donald Trump will not be found guilty of any of the charges because of the delays and this and that and whatever else, okay, has happened. It could be someone who has a grudge against something Trump stands for. An immigrant, right?
Right. It
Uh,
could be. We don't know.
and
It could be.
I
any
mean,
of those things.
tell me, the only people I think we can rule out are MAGA people, because just about every other group has something, in that they don't like about Donald
Or
Trump.
this is great. I mean, if we're going to go all the way, there could be another Republican who, because they probably
Absolutely. Okay, that's not. It also could
you
be.
can blame the Democrats.
It's well, we already said that, but also that, and this may sound bizarre, but it's not. It also could be foreign influence. Look, you don't think the NATO countries are scared to death that Trump will win? You know, I'm just throwing. I'm not saying it's So my point is, we'll have to do two things. We'll have to look at what the government releases as background for the victim, knowing if the victim is indeed dead, he or she can't respond to it. Okay.
But but if if the victim left something, whether people want to believe it or not, then we'd also find it more.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. But look, if I'm on the other side and not really believing them, they can plant anything. I'm not saying they would or should or did.
At this
I'm
point
just
now,
saying
in this conspiracy world, it doesn't even matter what the truth is.
it's over, right? It doesn't matter, and it
We
does
put
matter.
ourselves this way. You said I have a problem with America right now. This is what.
Yeah, and I do have a huge problem with America. So what happens is, no matter how this plays out, I agree with anti-guy, whoever said, we're more fucked now than we were this morning when we got up. No matter how you look at it. Now, the next thing, and we're kind of talking about that, is the motive. So we've got to know who was the shooter, is he dead or alive, and 3, what is the official? Now, let's assume he didn't leave much of a trail. We may never know. That's another possibility. Does it matter? Not really.
Well, they can trace the weapon. They can do that.
Okay.
And
They
the
can do
ammunition
that.
where it was purchased.
Well,
Oh, Dave, you went out for a second.
doing some research for another project I'm working on. And here's it didn't surprise me. Do you know what the number one article is, or the number one thing is being taken from stolen or broken into cars? Not the car itself, not the catalytic converters. So they both have been at the top of the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something new is there. Want to guess what it is?
Something that wasn't in cars 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Are you saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or not as much in cars and
Mm-hmm.
trucks and whatever. You want me to tell you?
Yeah, sure.
Guns.
Really? Hmm.
Gun thefts are just exploding. So when you say they can trace the gun, can they? I mean, if it's a stolen gun, yeah, see, there you are. We didn't have to wait long, did we, Trucker John? And J.D. Vance is doing that because, and I'm going to say this as bluntly as I can, because he can't suck Donald Trump's dick tonight. J.D. Vance wants that vice presidency so bad,
Yeah.
he would suck Donald Trump's dick on national TV. Again, I don't think it was we'll see, but we don't know. So I'm not going to say anything. Wouldn't that be ironic, though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But here's another question that we should have right now, or we do have right now. And this is important. If indeed the shooting came from inside the perimeter, if it came from there, how did the shooter get the gun in?
Right, because they have
If
to
it
have
came
the
if it came from
devices.
outside the perimeter, that rules out. And now there had to be people there, given where it was, that know the sounds of guns firing. That would make sense. As we say, they're shocking me. But there's a big difference between hearing even a .44 Magnum and an AK-37 being fired. I mean, you can tell kind of the difference between. So somebody there, could have heard it, could not have heard it. And again, I understand, certainly the chaos that goes.
I remember that first episode of Black Mirror.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's something else. That, again, timing and everything. It's funny how a lot of things tie in together. I'm not saying it's like we're not going to get into my free will and your determinism, but the idea of it is sometimes just things just fall, right? And so Judy and I went to see the new movie Fly Me to the Moon, which is getting all kinds of mixed reviews. But the basic storyline is it involves or comes from, it's a comedy, but it comes from the idea that the moon landing was faked. That's where it comes from, okay? And did you know that 11% of the American people still believe that the moon landing was faked? So there's already, that it goes back that far. And the Kennedy assassination numbers are even higher. At some points, it's over half, almost at one point, it was almost 75% of Americans polled believed that Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. So we're back in, prime conspiracy territory in a time of prime conspiracies. So what we have to do, and when I say we, anybody who's part of the Divided We Stand family, we have to do a number. First of all, I would urge you not to believe anything right away. Just hold off. Take it all in, think about it, sort what makes sense, sort what doesn't. But I would not, I'm not ready yet to take a stand, and I don't think anyone else should. Secondly, understand and try not to get any more angry than we already are with the fuckwads on the right, the MAGA people, who are going to say the most despicable, horrible things that you can imagine, because that's what they do. That's who they are. What's the old saying? You can't stop a tiger from being a tiger. You can't stop a snake from being a snake. You can't stop a MAGA from being MAGA. That's what they are and who they are. So you don't want to get sucked into that. Now, Keith, there's another one. If you're going to assassinate someone, you're either a pro or you're an amateur, right? Would you agree, Brian? I mean, a crazy amateur is going to do it, or you hire a pro. I mean, there's not much in between.
Right.
And
we got some information from Trucker John here.
200 outside of, okay. That, and again, their report, and Trucker John, what we're saying is that seems to be the consensus right now, which would answer one of the questions. How did the shooter get the weapon inside the perimeter? Now, I've only been, let's see, I'm trying to think. I've only been to a Trump rally once, and that was in Atlanta prior to his election. And I know even then as a candidate.
And that'd be ironic too, would be an AR type of weapon. Actually, and that's from that distance.
Okay, now see, shit. Well, yeah, it's not a sniper's rifle. I mean, AR is not a sniper's rifle. It's the purpose of an AR is to fire multiple shots in very little time. You want a crowd in front of you. So report shooter used an AR style weapon. That would make sense. But there's going to be people again on all. Well, how come Trump didn't die? Well, not everybody gets shot at dies, right?
And also you're increasing the distance too, so it's harder.
Oh, absolutely. So knowing Donald Trump as well or as not well as I know him, I can't conceive of him having the balls to set up a fake shooting. I don't. So I think, I think it was a real.
There are people who want to kill him, and there are liberals who have guns too, not as much as.
And we don't even have to say liberals. I mean, it could be somebody.
Anybody on the.
No, I'm not.
Someone that doesn't even live in the country, technically.
On the political spectrum, it could have been somebody who an injustice was done. Who knows? We always look at, well, there's MAGA right and liberal left, but we just don't know. So the thing that I'm urging tonight for all of us, Anthony, what it appears to be multiple shots. That's what seems to be 7. People heard.
They heard 7.
Now, 7 or 8. Well, then again, that leads something. Okay. Now let's think about this for a moment. And I'm just posing these things. All right. What did Trucker John say?
There are snipers all over.
I understand that. I understand that. But again, you'd have to see the layout. You don't know what the layout is. Where were the snipers? Were they on ground level?
Well, you could see it. And they did show on MSNBC. They were on top of these roofs.
So that's my point. I haven't seen that. So
they said they had to have the high ground. And they
Well, they
showed
always
where
have to
they
have.
were.
They always have to have the high ground. I just didn't know, like I'm making this, but if Donald Trump spoke at the Cumberland County Fairgrounds, there's no high ground. You know what I mean?
A tree
Except
is
for
all you've got.
all you got. So, if it wasn't that, um, maybe Trump set this up. Yeah. Well, you're not the only person, Anthony. Everybody is thinking that, but I don't think this happened. I don't think it happened that way simply because I don't know that you know unless they didn't tell Trump they would have shoot him, uh, yeah, we're gonna just fake a shot and you just put this in your ear. No, but I would be the two things that would surprise me both there, in either or. Joe Biden had anything to do with the shooting would shock me, and Donald Trump was aware that he was going to get shot would shock me. Anything in between is fair game. And Ryan, this is exactly it. Us will be in Bowdoin. This was the last 4th of July. People say, when you say something like that, oh, you're being overly dramatic. No, we're not. No, we're not. Let's turn this around. Let's suppose that it does come out. No, we don't have to worry about that. But let's suppose this happened when Trump was president. You'd have martial law
Right.
faster than you could
You would
say
not.
the words
Local
martial
God,
law.
You're right.
Now,
Have
if
given an
Joe Biden were shot, you wouldn't have martial law. That's he wouldn't. You just wouldn't. It's not in the cards. You don't need it because and again, as what I'd like to say, and this only makes it more desperate. Please, if you can, find a source if you don't want to read all 928 pages of Project 2025, because the synopsis that are circulating is not exactly correct. Now, Brian, do you have any? I want to do one other thing before we sign off related to this. But do you have anything else coming in on that you think you need to say or want to say on the incident today? My end of this is I'm going to wait and see how it unfolds, because guess what, people? No matter how it unfolds, nothing can change it.
Well,
Donald Trump.
I just want to comment on. You see the reaction of the people who were there. Instead of, some people were legitimately concerned about his health and what was going on, but then you had these immediate revenge heads with the finger, like "fuck you," like who are you saying "fuck you" to? I know you're angry that your guy, but to me, that automatically points to revenge when somebody goes like this and they keep going like this, fuck you, that kind of thing. There's
Well, you know what?
about that.
Okay, now I'm going to go against my whole.
In the Middle East, it's like this, but in this case, it was.
Look, again, and I'm. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I am going to bring it up. All right, if I were shot at and not killed and not even hurt that badly, I'd be so elated. But that's not Trump's.
Angry.
That's not Trump's personality.
Right.
So some people would say, like, I don't. They might point to that it's also being staged, but I don't think so. Trump's personality was, he had the presence of mind, if you want to say, to stand up and give that, like you say, fuck you, fuck
Right,
you.
yeah.
Well, that's. I mean, did he?
He lost it under. Look, I understand you're just shot.
Oh no, I would never. I would never fault anyone. It's just that he reverted to who Donald Trump really is.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not grateful that I'll live to
His
see
anger
my
came
son.
out immediately. How dare
Well,
you shoot me?
That's all he has. He doesn't have anything else in his bag of tricks other than anger. So as I say, I would urge all of us, myself very much so, is just wait. Let's see how it develops. But let's not be stupid about that. Let's keep alert. And I'll give you an example. Sometimes I don't practice what I preach. So, as I said, we were walking, after you did that. So that if nothing else, that's a reminder of how violent a nation we are.
Yeah,
right?
you have to keep your eyes open when you're walking
And-
through the streets after something like that.
Well, here's where I kind of even didn't. You don't sometimes.
You did believe me
don't-
though, correct? You knew I wasn't joking.
Oh, I knew immediately. I could tell by the sound of your voice,
Right.
and that's not something you would joke about.
Right. No, I
So I knew that. No, And so we're walking down, as I say, toward this convention that's being held, which is pretty cool, down the street from us. And we watch this huge truck pull up. There's no parking. If you can imagine, there's over 1,000 people staying at the hotel, let
So we're
alone
getting some
the
good
crowd.
numbers already, Dave. I don't know what's going on, but we're getting a lot of people watching right now. Just we're getting off.
Well, I see it. Now,
Okay.
what happens is we're walking down, and this pretty large truck pulls up, and I have to set the stage because I'm not being ethnic about it, but I'm going to be ethnic about it for a moment. And right behind them, a much smaller car with two look like Middle Eastern men pull up, and the truck couldn't park because the car is right on its bumper, and there's not room for both of them to park. And look at that asshole, because we've been talking about all day. Drivers down here are just off the charts.
Everywhere, though. I mean, they can have
Yeah, I know. So I said, okay, I'm going to stop. And what I wanted to do in my mind was make sure that the good guys, the husband guys, assholes.
Okay, you were going in and out there for a second, Dave. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. And what happens with that is, I really probably should have just minded my own business and walked on.
Mhm.
But I got it in my head, no, that's not what a good Samaritan does. I'm going to stay here. And then
Okay, Dave.
you okay now? Yes, no?
Now we're okay. We're
Okay.
now.
So like I say, I have to follow my own advice. And you gave it, Brian, and I was for a while, not terror, not fear, but just the idea of keeping your eyes open.
Something's going in and out. No, that's maybe just me, Dave.
I don't know. Well, somebody may
Now
have
you're
chimed in.
back.
Okay.
This happened last week, but it was only for about a minute or two. So
Okay. Well, anyway, so like I say, just be aware of your surroundings. And then people say I'll say to Judy and myself or others, don't you want to get out of there now? And I said, why? It's my home. I mean, I'm not brave or anything.
Right.
It's just I'm here. And oh, good. I always wanted to hear assholes. I don't even want the. I didn't want the. Yeah, that's all I want. The assholes and the fucks are what I want in. I don't care about anything else. So that's just kind of what I'm saying. So any final words before I do want to bring up one other subject, I think, that affects all of our family. Okay, that's good. I mean, you don't have to.
I don't know where I want to go with this. This is something that, I mean, after this event, you have to kind of wait a day or two to see where this goes. I don't like.
Well, that's
worry
what
is
I'm
this,
saying.
Dave, is revenge heads. That's what bothers me.
Well, and you're going to have that. The question is how violent, and do they believe, like J.D. Vance is giving them confirmation or permission to do, is that the liberals brought this, or the leftists, or whatever they call us, brought it on themselves. But yes, that's the best advice. Listen to different things, find from different sources. You don't have to look at OAN or Fox News or Newsmax or any of those, or the Breitbart report. You know what they're going to say. But just make sure that any one report is not there. The other thing, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Today and this past week, something has happened on Facebook with their flagging of posts.
Yes, that's happening.
I got personally flagged on 3. And we got 1 flagged on Divided We Stand. No, 2. I'm sorry, 2's flagged. Now, that's not a reason, and I will let you know that I just personally, if I'm in charge, I just put them back up. But what I don't like is that Facebook does not allow me to see the posts in Divided We Stand.
It's frustrating. You just get.
So what I'm going to do is if I get a little bit of time, not this week because we have visitors coming in a second. Next week, I'm going to get a hold of not Mark Zuckerberg, but get a hold of some Facebook people and say, listen, that's fine, but at least let the administrator of the site know what it is that they're talking about. You don't know. You can't find. I tried for an hour today to run one of those down. Now, what I've heard and what I've read is interesting. One of the posts that they're flagging is, and I actually reposted this because I thought it was a pretty good summary of. I don't know if you've seen it. It's got a picture, but it's a picture, but it's a list of 20 or 24 things that are in Project 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You see it all the time now, and the group that's doing that is a right wing organization. So Facebook is just, they're fucked too. I'm sorry. Mark Zuckerberg was born a creep, and Mark Zuckerberg will die a creep. He's not as bad as Donald Trump, I assume, but he's in the top 10. So just be patient and, let us know if you don't see something you posted on Divided We Stand, or something you posted disappears. Know that we're trying to work on it, but right now it's not. Now you can see with the headlines, there's not much new, right?
Right. Well, I think
Uh,
we're going to look at. I mean, and this is going to be. You're not going to like this, but I think we need to look at Fox, because
Go ahead.
this
No,
is
I'm
what
fine with that.
bothers
Let's
me.
see. Let's see. Let's see. No, that's very good. We can look at that right now,
Yeah, let me just go to Fox
and we'll
here,
see.
because how they do it, they're the ones that stir it up. So
Well,
let's.
actually, I was shot. Yeah, you were. Trump rushed off stage. Yeah, I mean, it's so far. We don't. You'd have to go inside and read the articles or hear the
Right.
commentary. Wait a minute. Moment you hear gunfire ring out just before. Okay. Biden speaks after Trump. Take that down again, Brian. I want to read. Biden speaks after Trump rally shooting. No place in America for this kind of violence. Well, unfortunately, Mr. President, you and I agree on that, but Donald Trump doesn't.
Um, we have here GOP praise for Trump. Uh,
Well,
Fake
yeah,
news, share urgent prayers.
yeah. Well, that's going to be, uh, and again, uh, maybe I'm denigrating everybody's religious faith, but last I knew, prayers ain't going to help you. They're nice. They're a nice gesture, maybe, but that's all they are.
Right.
Thoughts and prayers. I mean,
Not the
sometimes
kind of
that's all we can
medicine
use.
you want when you're
For
sick.
us, yeah. So, so what do we know as we leave the show tonight? We know, I think, that once again, violence has reared its head in America, and I don't know what you think, Brian, but I think facts, statistics, my gut feeling, everything I know is that America is getting more violent rather than less violent. Now, we don't know all the causes for violence, but I do know this. It's too damn easy to get a gun in America. That's just a true statement. And I also know, on the converse, though, we can't take all the guns away. But that's not a reason not to start making it more difficult to get guns now. I've got the idea, if guns are made criminal, only criminals will have guns. And that's not exactly true. And
Yeah, we're
again,
all
we
going to
talk.
live inside, and we're all going to order on Amazon and DoorDash and all the other kind of things. We're going to
Yeah,
order from. We're just going to be cloistered. At some
and,
point, if it gets worse,
yeah.
especially if there's a civil
Well,
war.
and it may not only come from that. It may come from just the fact that climate change just makes it unbearable to leave your thing. And
Yeah, a lot
and
of
it sound.
comments coming in now. You see, hold it. We
Oh,
got. Yeah, that was fucked up.
yeah,
Right.
Brian. Yes, I would think. Um, yeah, I mean, there's nothing to argue with in your statement. Not that we choose to argue. I mean, I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah, you certainly
Uh,
wouldn't argue for it from the two people here. That's for sure.
no, no. The only thing I said is sometimes it. My thing is always this: prayers are useless without action. That's my saying, and that's what I believe. You know, I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to pray for your mom. She's in the hospital, and I'm going to come bring her soup or something. That's the prayer and the action are good. We'll be back tomorrow night, I think, right, Brian? And
That's what
nine
we
o'clock, is
plan.
that
9 o'clock,
correct?
right?
And so we'd like to make sure that everybody that's watching, if they have time tomorrow, also fake to gain sympathy. Also, Trump has doubles. You know what? I'm
Stalin
not.
had 10 supposedly.
Well,
Stalin had 10. And I was just discussing this with the Russian today about how even Zhukov, a guy that popular, Stalin put him on trial. I mean,
You
we
know
just
what?
don't know.
And something just hit me, Brian. Just hit me now. So I'll tell you. If you had said Stalin has 10 prior to 2016, I said, yeah, but that's Russia. That's not here. That
Now
excuse
it's
has
here, right?
gone.
Right.
That excuse is absolutely gone. Um, and uh, you know, again, I wish it weren't true. I'm doing a project now that involves conspiracy theories, and it's like Ryan said with prayer, it doesn't do a lot of good. It doesn't do a lot of good to say conspiracy theories have been around since man emerged from the caves, or since humans, men and women, emerged from the caves, because this is different. It is different. We have the 24/7 news cycle, and we have social media, and that makes everything different. Okay, so uh, keep together, keep kind. Know that no matter how isolated you feel, there are people like you out there. If you need some people, and I'm not saying this is like, I mean, just they need more emotional support than others. That's something we hope we can give in the show. It is a family. We've seen it work even more on the website when somebody experiences something and how much outpouring there is. You know, um, let's see, and lost with the love luck, namaste. And so let's just wait, see, study, but don't finalize our thoughts yet. Um, I'll be there. I'll be there next week. So I'll see what they say. I'm actually going to Heritage Foundation next week. So we'll see what they say. All right. That's it for
All
me
right.
tonight, Brian.
All right. Thank you, everybody. This was just an impromptu. Thought it was important enough to do this. So join us tomorrow night if you would, and share this and like it if you would. Again, we're not monetized. We're just trying to get a little bit of help and trying to, as Dave would say, put ourselves into action. You can pray the
And
Bible.
the other thing would be, if you do pray, could you pray for Brian to get better musical selection in the background? That would
Well,
be
I
something.
can't. I could certainly put any musical selection behind the background, but we're going to have a copyright strike, so I had to put non-copyright music
Well,
on
that's
here.
what I want. That's what I want to see. All right.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Good night. All right, Dave. I'll talk to you tomorrow before we go on. We're starting.
Sounds good.
As we leave, we always get more customers, so to speak.
That's all right. Well, come back tomorrow.
Yeah. If you are here, come back tomorrow, 9 o'clock or so, and we will 9 o'clock
do it.
Eastern time. So if you're obviously in Detroit, it'll be at 8 o'clock, and
or if you're in New Zealand or Canada, or the secret spies that Brian works with in Russia, obviously it'll be a different time. All right. Bye.
All right. See you. Thank you, Ryan. We'll have you on again too, by the way, Ryan. It'd be good to see you. So, all right.